Hi, and welcome to Rate That Album, the back and forth album review with myself, Paul Muad'Dib, and my good friend Joe Fremming. Joe, how are you doing today, buddy?
I am doing fantastic on the brink of World War III, Paul.
It's as good as you can do, right? How not to drown, buddy. For a prosperity stake, because we all may be dead, this is being recorded the day that Russia invaded Ukraine. So, yay, World War III. So we're doing CHVRCHES, I guess fittingly enough, Screen Violence album. A really depressing album. Joe, what did you think about it?
It was it's a fun, dancey pop album with like some of the most depressing lyrics I've ever heard in my life. So it was right up and it scratched a lot of itches for me, much like Pat Boone did for you.
Uh-oh.
No. I mean, it was just like one of those perfect albums for me, much like In a Metal Mood should have been for you.
Should have been for me? Dude, okay. So I do want to take a moment here and retro some things here. There's a lot of things. I want to go back actually at some point and rediscuss that album because there's a lot more that I could have righted on that for.
Choo-choo.
Crazy, crazy train. Choo, choo. I also want to go back and say, I for the Miley Cyrus album, I really wish I had picked Miley Cyrus and her Dead Pets. Because I do really love that album. I went back and listened to it not too long ago, and I don't want to go back and redo artists because there's just so much music out there. But I don't know. Have you had a chance to listen to Dead Pets?
I listened to it when it came out.
Okay, what did you think of Dead Pets?
I liked it.
I liked it a lot. The song "Bang My Box" is amazing.
Yeah, no, it was like her. That was with the Flaming Lips. It was trippy and weird. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I was looking, and why I was thinking about that was that came up on a worst album of the 2010s. Of the 2010s. That came up on a worst album list that I had found, which I was really shocked about because I really enjoyed that album. So fuck them. Oh, fuck them and fuck their face. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about CHVRCHES. Joe, what is your experience at all, if at all, with CHVRCHES?
I just know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they started coming out and people were talking about them. But I was just like, really not attuned to like a lot of new music coming out, especially by like newer bands at the time. So it was kind of like there's this whole like 10-year gap that just kind of, or not 10 year, but like 6-7 years that just like passed me by. So I'm like kind of like playing catch up a lot of times with like some of these bands while I'm still just covering new shit.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I remember is they did an interview where the lead singer was talking about how they, for the longest time, they tried to put off doing photo shoots because they feared like she had become the main focal point.
Yep.
And then like now if you look at all the photos of the band, that's what happened.
Yes. Yeah. No, very interesting. So no, your 10-year gap is about right because CHVRCHES, I mean, this is their fourth album, and every album of theirs has gotten success. And I will say that I'm a fan of CHVRCHES. They actually came through Minneapolis back in August of 21, and I almost went. It was like the same thing as it was when it was Ween.
Okay.
When I wanted to go see Ween, I actually bought the tickets for Ween and then sold them because I just wasn't ready with COVID. And the same thing with this one. I really wanted to see them. I was hoping they were going to come back through. Unfortunately, they're going to do some festivals this year, and down like I think the closest they're getting is Indianapolis. So I regret missing them, especially for this album, because I really like this album. But I will say that every one of their albums is solid. Even their first album, this is one of those things where this is what I love about some of this that we do, because we talk a lot about like the failures. Oh, their first album's great, but every album that comes out afterwards, there's like a decline. Not with this band. So
they're still young. You just
give them time. They'll fail.
Almost every band puts out that clunker, Paul. It's bound to happen. I can't think of many bands that avoided that fate.
Yeah, I mean, even the Beatles put out Magical Mystery Tour, I suppose.
That's one of my favorites of theirs.
I know, mine too, and everyone hates it. Blue Jay Way's a great song. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about CHVRCHES. So the two male musicians, the Ian and Martin. Now, this band comes from Glasgow, which is interesting.
You're on a real big Scottish kick lately.
I know, it's weird, right? But at least we get a Scottish band that's good this time around versus what we got with Snow Patrol. Yes, so these guys are in Glasgow, and they were in a couple bands together. And they actually, back in like 2011, so they started in 2003. They were in a couple of bands together and started working on their own projects. And in 2011, they came across Lauren Mayberry and asked if she'd be interested in singing backup vocals for this electronic music project that they were working on. And the funny thing was, they were from like alternative rock bands, Ian and Martin were. They played guitar, they played drums, they played bass. So they got inspired by this. He was listening to this band called the Emeralds, and Ian Cook was. So he bought a synthesizer, he bought basically a Moog, and started playing around with it. And he said, hey guys, you want to come? And I'm just going to do like an EP of some electronic music. And so his buddy Doherty was like, yeah, I'll come back and work on music with you. And they ran into this Lauren Mayberry, who he had known through another band, said, hey, do you want to do backing vocals for this project? She's like, yeah, sure. Well, as they're working on this project, they started recording, and they're like, we should become a band. We should actually do something more than an EP. This is working out really well. Initially, the idea was to have Doherty sing lead vocals, and Mayberry would sing the backing vocals. And he eventually acquiesced and said, you know what? I want you to sing for the band. And she was like, okay. So she became the front woman. So yeah, when they did that, that's very funny. You brought up that interview. That was one of the things they want to talk about was, hey, we're a band. You know, it's not just about me, and it's become all about her.
yeah, because that really stood in the interview, because I was just like, it was really, you know, they made that the point when they were talking, and then of course the photo with the interview was like her up front and the two guys behind. But I guess you can't avoid it.
No,
it's the industry.
It's the industry, and I wanted to avoid talking about her looks and things like that, but she's a very attractive woman. So it happens, you know, it's kind of like Blondie. No one really knows anyone in that band besides Deborah Harry. You know what I mean? I mean, it happens a lot of times in the US. It is very, we're very guilty of this. I know you saw the documentary In the Shadow of Motown, right?
I think so. I've seen so many music docs, man. Like,
no, it's the one about all the people that were the session musicians in Motown.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Okay, so one of the things I talked about was no one in the U.S. You know, oh, Marvin Gaye got all the credit. Otis Redding got all the credit. You know, all these Motown singers got all the credit, and no one knew who the session musicians were. And when they flew over to England to do a project or to do something over there musically, like, they were shocked that people knew who they were. Like, there were signs for them specifically. And they're like, no one in the US knows who the hell we are. So this is one of the things that kind of is the American music churn, is that
Wrecking Crew, they did like a lot of the backing tracks and a lot of popular music in the 60s.
Yes.
Notably with Pet Sounds, Beach Boys and stuff. And it was just like, they just came in and, you know, they really polished up like bands that, you know, got signed but were not proficiently or technically good. So they would just come in and clean that shit up. That's why they were called the Wrecking Crew.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say one of them did something for, wasn't that Paul Simon, where one of those guys, I remember they came in there and I saw an interview and Paul Simon's like, oh yeah, for this particular song, you play a guitar like this. And what Paul Simon didn't know was that they didn't like his guitar rendition. So they brought this other guy in and he's playing it on the album. And so Paul Simon's like talking with him and is going, when I do this, I play this part. And this guy's going, yeah, I know, Paul. And Paul's just, still going on. And like, he doesn't have the heart to tell Paul Simon, because he was told also, not that he doesn't have the heart, but he was told, don't fucking tell Paul Simon, replace his guitar work with yours. So yeah.
Music, man, it's
a fucked up industry, dude.
Fucked up industry.
So the reason why they picked Churches and why they spell their name that they did it with the V rather than the U is for online searches. They're like, it's nothing more than that. They were saying we didn't want to have people looking up churches and having to struggle with actual online search results. So we spell it with a V instead of the U. That's really why they came up with it. Their major, every album that they did had hits. They went through. So I wanted to focus on their latest album, which was released in 2021, which is Screen Violence.
And let's just premise, we did the director's cut.
Yes, we did the director's cut, which was interesting.
Three extra tracks.
3 extra tracks, and I didn't know about the director's cut till you found it when we were looking up this album. When you were,
because I wanted to make sure we were listening to the same one.
So
you never know.
No, it happens, right? Because again, we ran in that with Miley Cyrus and a couple other bands where there's like, we getting the extended version, the redo. It's just what it is now. Their musical style is synth pop, electropop, indie electronica, pop, and electronic. Their major influences, and I think this will be no surprise to you, Joe, is David Bowie, Depeche Mode, Iggy Pop, Susie and the Banshees, Tangerine Dream, Nick Cage, Nick Cave.
Yeah. Like when I was listening to this, and that's funny because you bring up those bands because it has a very 80s vibe to it. And I'm currently reading rereading actually the book Rules of Attraction by Bret Easton Ellis. And this album, maybe it's just because I'm reading, but it has a very Bret Easton Ellis vibe to it in that it's like 80s pop, but it's like some of the most with these songs about twisted people with twisted inner views and shit. So that really kind of struck out to me. Like it just felt like a soundtrack maybe to like one of his books.
Well, one of these things happen for reasons, my friends. So let's start with the first song here, Asking for a Friend.
Okay. So this, and I'm going to say, so like this popped on with the intro. My first reaction was like, oh no, Paul really likes this band and they're already starting off on a bad foot with me. Because it felt like so derivative of like how a lot of dance anthems in the past 10 years have been. You start with the slow, with the Antari's whatever.
Yep.
The vocal manipulations. I was like, oh no. It got better, but like I was very nervous when this first track started because it did not draw me in.
Okay, so this first track did not drive you in.
No, it did not reel me in. It was like I was very nervous. I was very nervous. I was like, oh God, we even went with the director's cut of this.
That's funny. Okay, this song, I'll be honest with you, the first time I listened to the album didn't grab me either. As more playthroughs of the album and getting a vibe of the album, I actually enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, I enjoy it more now, but like that first listen, I was like, oh no, Paul really likes this band, and it's already starting out not great with me, but it's grown on me. But yeah, that was my first reaction. I was just like, oh no, not again. So I'm glad. And again, if there's things you don't like, you're not going to hurt my feelings. This is obviously, we're both critics at heart. I
one of the things I think I really enjoy about Churches is the fact that they are poppy, but they have that edge to it. And I enjoy the fact that the lyrics are actually like intelligent and meaningful. That's one of the things that I have a real problem with a lot of, pop music. It's very saccharine, vapid. And this is, she's opened this up with, some real feeling and real, lyrics coming forward. You don't get that a lot in a pop dance club sound.
No, that's another thing that stood out. So that's why I picked, because I was thinking about this after I was listening to it. And I was like, the reason I don't like a lot of dance club pop music is just how vapid and empty and it is, which makes it joyless for me personally. And like a lot of people probably like it, and that's fine. But for me, I don't get joy out of that kind of music. But I don't get like an emotion from something. It's just wallpaper at that point for me. It's there, and we've had plenty of albums where it's wallpaper to us. Like Molly Ringwald was just wallpaper. We couldn't even remember a goddamn song on that album when we did our review.
And sadly, if you were to ask me like any name of the songs, the only one I could tell you was "Don't You Forget About Me."
Yeah,
that is the only one. I
forgot about that one until you brought it up.
Which again sucks because she has a great voice. So next song is "He Said, She Said."
Yeah, this is where the lyrics really drew me in. I was like, this is fucked up. Like, this song is either about somebody she was with who was like saying shit like this, or the industry itself. I get a vibe like it's a lot of like the industry with the whole, watching your weight and how you look, and dictating every aspect of your life. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of that in this song. Drink but don't get sloppy or whatever she says.
Yeah. Get drunk but don't be a mess.
Yeah. Eat but don't watch your weight and shit. Like it's like it just feels like a lot of like a toxic person in her life, or the toxic industry, or even how the fucking world treats women.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the vibe I got from it. Like, and that was like really just like it hit. I was just like, wow, she's angry, and she has every right to be angry, because lyrics like these just don't pop out of nowhere.
No. And I think, you have a really good lean towards the industry, because they have their lyrics across all their albums are very, dark and kind of depressing and that type of that tone. So I think one of the lyrics is "Be sad, but don't be depressed." So yeah, I really think that's, what it is. I personally also love the vocals on it. This is the song that is my 3-year-old's favorite song right now.
I saw that. I love this. This is probably my, this and Final Girl, probably my 2 favorite songs.
Oh, Final Girl's such a great track as well. Yeah. So next one's "California."
I love the melody of this. It was really good.
Yeah. So one of the things that Churches is kind of known for is doing like double choruses. So, and you get that in Final Girl as well. And, with this one, I mean, it's kind of like, they call it kind of a pre-chorus, but it's not really, it's like its own chorus that it crescendos into another chorus. And this is, I think, one of the first ones you get on this album that does this. It was really catchy. Every time I play it, I enjoy it. The next one is "Violet Delights," which is, I really like the lyrical content of this one. I don't know what you thought about this one.
So there's a show called Westworld. And I couldn't stop thinking about it, because there's a line throughout the whole series. When it was good, I stopped watching because it got really shitty.
I heard that.
Season 2. But there's a line that always says, "These violent delights have violent ends." And so the whole time I'm just thinking of that when I was listening. So that was kind of distracting to me.
Sure.
It's not really their fault. It's just like my brain just immediately went to another area of pop culture.
Absolutely. No, and one of the things that I would want to do, because I think some audience members might call us out on this, is something that I said before, that it gets boring when you hear a band kind of do the same thing across all their tracks. There is, throughout this album, this theme of nightmares and, sleeping, but it's done in a way that's not boring, that makes it interesting, because the songs are different each way. The way that she's telling it is different each way. And that's the key. Like, when you do something, just because, like, again, going back to Snow Patrol, because that's one that we really hammered on that for, using a lot of the same words across the album, that's when there's not really much music there for variance. That's when it really gets pulled out and really gets under the microscope. You have to kind of dig in a little bit to get that with this album, but you'll find it, but it's done intelligently. Does that make sense?
Well, Snow Patrol just did it lazily. That was the problem with that. It was just,
there you go.
About that album was fucking lazy.
Well, again, they put a demo track on there that was a creeper song. So
yeah. These lyrics are, anxieties and nightmares and twist. That's why, it's just like, I was driving, I was listening to it, I was like, man, this sounds like a soundtrack to the book Less Than Zero. Like, the characters are just like outwardly apathetic, and they're just fucking dark and twisted and get delights out of awful things.
Yeah, and there's just angry about something happened like between the third and the fourth album.
Didn't they write this during the lockdowns during COVID?
Yes, they did. Yep.
So I can imagine, like, everybody kind of spent too much time in their own mind, I think, those past 2 years. I can see that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Joe, next one we get is How Not to Drown, featuring and co-written by Robert Smith.
It was all right. I wasn't a huge fan of this. But that's just.
You're allowed. Again, you're not going to hurt my feelings. I am a huge Cure fan. I love Robert Smith, and I could hear, like, this album especially has a lot of Cure guitar notes and influence in it. There's very much a lot of Cure in this album, and I will say that I enjoyed it. And to me, I will say that the duet aspect of it, of having Robert Smith on it, makes sense versus some of the other stuff that we've had again. I think besides Beyonce, where we were like, why is, this shouldn't work on paper, but it works. That's the last time we really had an album where having multiple musicians on works in a song.
Yeah. When it's done right, it's done right. Again, this, it's not a bad song. It didn't do a whole lot for me, I guess.
Sure.
Like, obviously I hear the Cure's influence all over this album. Like,
oh yeah.
I mean, it's just this one just, I don't know, just, it didn't do a whole lot. It's not bad. I don't skip over it. It's just not my favorite. I think maybe his vocals kind of take me out a little bit, and that's kind of like my issue with it.
His vocals, it doesn't match an electronic pop sound.
So that's kind of probably why I got taken out of it for a bit. Mm-hmm. But
and I will say, when it's done live, and I've watched a lot of live things for this album, and she just sings all of it. There is no like stand-in for Robert Smith or anything like that. It was just done exclusively for the album itself. So I think it actually is a little bit more tonally, makes a little bit more sense. But again, anytime I see Robert Smith on something, I'm happy. So I'll take it. Next we get what you said was one of your favorites, Final Girl.
Final Girl. Yeah, I just love the imagery and the lyrics, like, so, it's almost like seeing your life as a movie and putting yourself as the final girl at the end of a horror movie.
Right.
I mean, because that's basically, that's kind of like the hook into this, is the final girl at the end of all horror movies. Usually murder at the beginning of the next one, but
that's
if you're a big Friday the 13th fan like me, that's
Yep, because she wanted too much money.
Yep, too much money. All right.
Actually, no.
Kind of the same haircut, and
she the girl from, that's actually a tragic story. She was actually being stalked the girl that played from Friday the 13th Part 1 and Friday the 13th Part 2, and she couldn't mentally handle it, was what happened. And it was actually took everything out of her just to get her in to do the one scene where she's in the apartment. Because, yeah, she had a stalker in real life, and he like broke into her house and stuff. Like, yeah, it was really an unfortunate story there. That's what happened with her. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. So, I just,
but yeah, it's one of my favorite on this album. I just love the lyrical imagery, and you know, yeah, I really enjoyed it.
And I really enjoy, again, this is that dual chorus. This definitely is one of those dual chorus songs, which, going back to any one of their older albums, those are the ones that really shine through. Because, yeah, you get this, you know, okay, this is a nice chorus, and then it cuts to in the final cut and you're like, wait a minute, where are we going now? We're going someplace I really like. Yeah, lyrically, it's almost like a story song. You can picture it, and you could tell, you know, like the way that things are going. Like, should I be doing what I'm doing? You know, what am I doing? What am I going on? Yeah, a lot of viewing yourself from the outside in on this one.
Yep.
So next one is Good Girls.
I liked it. Is it the F-bombs feel a little awkward?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just me?
No.
Feels like she's not comfortable even saying it, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, there are a little. It's, you know, the way she sings it. I don't know if there's a hesitancy or what, but I felt it too. So no, don't. You're not seeing something that isn't there.
Am I going crazy?
Calm it down, Gilmer.
God damn it, Gilmer.
God damn it, Gilmer. So, yeah, I actually really like this song. Like, again, lyrically wise, this is one of the ones that I did. The rhyming got a little much for me. Cry, lie, die, alive. Like, but the whole, I mean, just starting off, killing your idols is such a chore.
Yeah.
And it's such a fucking bore because I don't need them anymore. Yeah. So maybe if you got some guts, we kill them with 1,000 cuts and say we did it out of love. Like, you're really pissed off at someone.
Yeah, this band is angry at somebody, and it's just like, it's not just one person in the band, because I think like everybody helps write all this shit. So,
yes.
So it's like everybody involved was just angry at something.
Yeah. So then we get Lullabies, getting back to that theme of sleep and things like that.
Yep.
What did you think of this one?
It was all right.
Yeah, this one's not the great. I mean, I enjoy it.
I like Nightmares, which follows it. Nightmares I liked a lot.
So. Nightmares a really good song. Yeah, Lullabies is kind of there. I almost like I don't want to say a filler song, but it is kind of a filler song in my mind.
Or it's just kind of like it's moving things along, I guess. Like
it
works nice as a bridge between Good Girls and Nightmares.
Yes. But yes. Yep.
Yeah, nothing super stood out to me. Like Nightmares, I was just like, yeah, I love this song.
It's a great song, isn't it? Yeah.
A lot of these songs are great. I love the lyrics, and like the presentation of it all is just really good. So.
Mm-hmm. And then you get Better If You Don't, number 10. Now,
which is technically the end of the album, which is I think is a solid ending song for an album. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, that's awesome. That's a great way to end the album with a song like this.
Yes, 100%.
Like the guitar and everything sounds great and fits the mood.
And I like the lyrics of it are just I enjoy it. Again, I enjoy the lyrical content of it. So then we get the director's cut, which has 3 extra songs, which is Killer, Bitter End, and Screaming.
Yep. Only one of them I felt should have probably been on the album proper.
And which one was that one?
Killer.
Yes. Yep.
The other two, I could see why they cut that.
Yes. That's what makes me interested. Like, why was this a director's cut? Like, if it was me, I would have. The reason why they did it is it was kind of a, hey, we're going to release these 3 extra songs because this album's doing really good and we want to give our fans something, which has kind of become semblance with a lot of things during COVID. People are just giving stuff away. This is the quote that Lauren said. This album was thematically so different to previous Churches albums that it would have been rude to us to let Halloween come and go without injecting some more screen violence into it. So 2 days ahead of Halloween, they released this director's cut with the 3 extra songs. I don't know, like my mind, I would have maybe moved them to the next album, but maybe the next album, the songs won't fit. So I don't, bands have put out 3-song EPs before, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's, I guess, a lot of times it's also promotional for like, you get the exclusive tracks if you buy this at Target or wherever. Yeah, so I kind of figured it was something like that. Obviously, thing is like, it works digitally, like, but if you're buying a physical copy, you just have like a CD now with 3 tracks on it, which seems like a
waste. Yeah. And I got to bring up, I don't know if this is the case or not, so I'm just going to say it. I hope that if you bought the physical original copy, you don't get the new copy. You don't get the director's cut. I hope that if you bought the original album and then director's cut dropped, that you would get access to those 3 extra songs if you bought it. I suppose with streaming, a lot of bands aren't thinking about people buying their music anymore, I suppose. I have a huge problem with this because of video games. Like I cannot say I'm a gamer anymore. I haven't gamed in months. I used to be a big gamer. I get really pissed off, and I'm going to bring up a prime example. This is me getting on a soapbox for a minute.
Here we go, everybody.
Here we go. So for the longest time, I would not buy a Capcom game because Capcom, just out of principle, I didn't buy this particular game, but just out of principle, I was like, fuck them. I'm not buying their shit because I don't appreciate their business practices. They put out a game, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Had a lot of problems, wasn't balanced, was missing game modes. They promised people, hey, we're going to put these back into the game. We're going to fix it. And instead, what they did is a year later released Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 at a $20 less price point. So instead of paying $60, you paid $40 for it, and it had everything that was supposed to be fixed in the first game in this one, rather than actually patching and fixing shit. So if I'm going to harp on a video game company for doing something like that, I got to harp on a band for doing something like that. Like, I do kind of have a thing where if people did go out and buy this first album and then you drop out this other one with these 3 extra songs on there, they kind of got fucked. And I don't appreciate that.
It's a shitty thing to do. Like, and honest, it's weird because they're doing that with like physical releases with CDs a lot. Which is like, I'm a vinyl guy. They don't do that with vinyl because the reason why there's albums are at a certain length and sequence in a certain way is because there's still people out there who buy records.
Yeah.
Like me. So it has to adhere to that limitation, which I think is part of the challenge and part of the charm of it. So like if I went to the record store and bought it, like I could only get the 10 tracks because that's all that's going to fit. And they're not going to press another vinyl for three songs. Right.
Yeah,
so like the fans who actually bought the CD, and like you have this other CD, which has like 3 songs on it. They should have just offered it as a digital download.
And maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah, right? I don't know either. But
I don't know either.
But I've seen other places like do like 3 bonus tracks, and you look at the track listing on the actual CD. And it'll be like another CD with 3 fucking songs on it. Like, maybe just don't do that. Like, maybe again, because only one of these songs I felt fits with the album that should have been on it, but due to constraints.
Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where I just don't appreciate the. I don't know. I don't know if they did it or not, but
just hold off because like. at least if you're going to do a special edition, the second disc should be rounded out with a lot more content than three songs or 2 songs. It should be whatever, and whatever you have left around, like live tracks or whatever, like at least make it more bang for your buck.
Agreed. Agreed. And again, that's why I kind of felt this was odd. Like, again, hey, we're going to release the director's cut, okay. But it's only 3 songs. Just, put them out there as bonus tracks, or, I mean, the Japanese, there is a version of How Not to Drown that we didn't listen to, which is the Robert Smith remix that only came on the Japanese version. So again, they've always done that kind of shit, and I just always frowned on it. Yeah. You and I think we're kind of notorious for going around and I was buying Pink Floyd bootlegs from other countries because they had different versions of the fucking songs on them. I hated it.
Well, yeah, I was like with the 9 Inch Nails, because like Pink Floyd, because their albums are pretty much the way they are. The bootlegs, you'd have to get just things that were, B-side or like hard to get. Like 9 Inch Nails was infamous because I own a version of Downward Spiral that has the song Dead Souls from the Crow soundtrack on it. Sequenced in between 2 songs, which is really weird. That's
weird.
Yeah.
But it's awesome you have it.
Awesome, yeah. That's high school, but yeah, it's just weird that for the Japanese market they throw an extra track on there, which seems really weird, especially with an album like Downward Spiral, to throw a cover song in a sequence of a concept album.
No, and it's on PC to say this guy's name right now because he's canceled. But back in the day, I was a big Marilyn Manson fan. And there was like a Rusty Nails mix that was out there, like all these songs that were kind of remixing together that I got my hands on that, again, you couldn't get normally. Yeah. So, yeah. So there it is. That's Screen Violence. Kind of just going over some of the reviews of it. AV Club gave it a B+. Scam gave it 8 out of 10. Pitchfork gave it a 7.2. Pop Matters gave it an 8. I don't have a Rolling Stone review. The people that gave it the lowest rating was Paste, which is not one I'm familiar with. Gave it a 6 out of 10, saying that it's more of a lateral move, that it doesn't have it's not great. That it was just kind of meh. Yeah, so
I don't have, I guess, since I haven't heard their other things, I don't have a frame of reference. I thought this was really good. This was probably, if I would have heard this when it came out, was it 2021?
Yeah.
Probably made it on my top 5 of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. Easy.
Yeah, because I loved it. And what I really liked it too is because it felt also at times so much like, because I know I harp it, but it had that like a vibe from Pretty Hate Machine, 9 Inch Nails, just like that early synth 9 Inch Nails stuff, and like I was that really, this, like I said, this like checked off so many boxes for me, like my love of female pop singers and like and weird industrial dance, electronic music, and fucked up lyrics. Like it was, this album was perfect for me. Again,
you and I both, there's a reason why I love this album, and I like their older stuff. Like I could appreciate it. I know where people are coming from, and I think this particular reviewer is that they're getting away from kind of the true synth pop and going kind of in a different route, because their older stuff, especially their first album, is far more synth poppy, where this brings in more guitar works and other instruments, and it kind of becomes, it rocks a little more. It moves.
God forbid a band changes, Paul.
Keep it the same way.
God damn it.
God damn it. Yeah, no, and that's what it is for people. People are like, I don't like it as much as their older stuff.
Look at me, I don't like this album.
So, yeah, I that's really what it is. People are upset they're moving away from their synth pop roots, as it were. But
it's like any indie band, whenever they change and do something and they get more, accepted by like a wider audience, you get this group of fucking idiots. I've seen it happen so many times. I saw it happen with Modest Mouse.
I was just gonna say, Modest Mouse is the first. Yeah, right away.
As soon as Good News came out, everybody's like, I fucking hate them now. Like, why? This album's really good. You would say that because you never heard of Moon Antarctica. And it's like, dude, you need to get your dick punched.
and I was a big fan of Modest Mouse. This is a long drive for someone with nothing to talk about. Great songs, but they were very minimalist. There's things that they could have done, and that's it. When Good News for people who love Bad News came out, it's a great fucking album. Yeah, it's a great album.
Did people not see the direction they were going with Moon in Antarctica? Was definitely heading to Good News and like that more whatever. Mm-hmm. They can't keep redoing, which is my favorite, is Lonesome Crowded West.
Oh, that's such a good album.
Yeah.
That is such a good album. It has just some great fucking tracks on it.
Cowboy Dan is probably my favorite Modest Mouse song.
I like Trailer Trash. That's me.
Doing the cockroach.
Doing the cockroach. Long distance drunk.
I saw them live, and they probably played like a 17-minute version of Cowboy.
Oh, that's awesome!
It was wild. That was great. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yeah, no, and then people were like, Modest Mouse sold out, and then people really got pissed off when they did We Are Dead.
I thought that was great too. I
thought it was really good. Now I have not listened to their latest 2 albums. That's on me.
They're all right. I guess they're getting older, so they're not as. I don't think they're as adventurous now. They kind of found their groove and they stuck with it. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my take. I could be wrong. Yeah. Well, that's what I felt with the album they did a few years ago. The last one that came out seemed like they're trying to do something a little different. But
the Golden Casket.
Yeah.
No, that just came out last year. That just came out in June.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I didn't know about it. Like I just was one of those things where I didn't know about this album. I will say one thing that I did kind of get the vibe from, even when they were doing We Were Dead before the ship even sank, and I think they did like an EP of a song that came out like King Rat. I did notice that Brock's voice is not able to do some of the things he used to do, and that's always limiting. Yeah. So
what happens when you age?
And fucking
Mick Jagger's voice can't do what it used to either.
And let's talk about U2 for a moment, if we may, because we're never going to do one of their albums, I don't think, because I absolutely cannot stand U2 anymore.
Oh, we'll do Pop one of these days. That's the only album of theirs I like.
Yeah, I can handle Pop.
I only like one album. It's the one everybody hated.
Yeah. So
Staring at the Sun is a fucking great song. I don't care what anybody says.
It was a good song, actually. It was a good song. So Bono, whenever they played live, even from the very beginning, they would tune down. And most bands do this. A lot of people don't realize is that they tune down. And Bono's gotten to the point where when he's on tour, Bono's fucking up his own ass and has been for a long time. The ego on that guy's crazy. He will not talk to anyone when he's on tour. He rides around with an oxygen mask and has oxygen going to him in order to preserve his voice to keep doing what he's doing. But even now, even Bono, doing everything he can to protect his voice from aging, cannot do the stuff that he used to do. He just can't.
And I don't even give a shit about his voice. U2's just not what I'm. Like I said, Pop is the only one that I ever paid any attention to.
So I'll say this because I don't know if the guy listens to it or not. And, we've gotten to be friends again, so this is no shot at him. And if he does listen to this show, he'll know I'm talking about him, and I still love you, sir. So when one of the iterations of the bands I was in, there was a guy who was very much in the U2, and part of our routine when we were doing live shows, we'd always do a combination of covers and our own music to keep people interested. Just was the way that we did things, play the songs people know, mix them in with the stuff they don't know, see how you gauge a reaction. And he was always very much into U2. So the songs that he picked and the things we had to do were very U2. And I lived with this guy for a while, and U2 was his favorite band. And I had to listen to U2 all the time. And when we were writing music, he wrote songs very much that were in the style of U2. And I just got absolutely burnt out. I cannot do U2 anymore because, and it's not that, I dislike him. It's over the years, like I took me till I was in where I'm at now, getting old and curmudgeon-y. My mom used to say to me, be like, Mom, why don't you, God, the Beatles are so good. She's like, I'm burned out. I've listened to them ad nauseum as a kid and everything. I know all those songs. I don't need to hear them now because I know them all. And they don't do anything for me, and I don't want to hear them anymore because I heard it too much. And I never understood that. And now I kind of do.
Yeah. And that person you were in a band with, you guessed it, Frank Stallone.
Frank Stallone. So yeah, we went on some tangents there at the end. We did pretty good staying on track for the most part.
Yeah.
Our ADD didn't kick in too much.
No, not like Pat Boone.
Oh God, dude. Okay, as I was a dick, and I was taking my daughter with me somewhere. I was going to pick up food, and so I played. She's like, "What album are you doing this time?" And it was this one. It was the CHVRCHES album. So I started playing it for half the ride there. For the ride there, I was playing the CHVRCHES album, and on the way back, I started playing the Pat Boone album. True. Oh, she was so pissed. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this band, and maybe this was unfair because I feel like any album I was gonna pick after that Pat Boone album was gonna sound amazing. Yeah. So I picked an album that I know I like already and was like, yeah. And again, the next couple albums I'm gonna do are gonna be albums that I enjoy. Maybe you won't. I'm glad that you enjoyed this. I would encourage you to check out their album before this, which was Love Is Dead. I think is a solid fucking album. Very solid album. So yeah. I would recommend that one.
Well, I recommend this one, Paul.
Good. I'm glad you recommend this one. I recommend this too. I honestly recommend every one of their albums. This is just so far, they've only put out 4 albums, and each one's been really good, has singles off of it, and they just get better and better. In my opinion, the band continues to grow, continues to be interesting, continues to evolve. And that's something that I think is the sign of a really good band, that they can do that. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Joe, what plugs do you have, sir? Do you got anything going on?
Nothing at the moment. We're still just doing a little hiatus until things get a little more sane. So
fair enough.
Joe down. So.
Well, luckily, we set up, there's a bunch of podcasts that are out on SoundCloud and out in the that, and on YouTube. They are coming on the Joe Down, I think they're on, because we were so far behind, they're coming out every other day. So there's still content coming out on the Joe Down.
Good. It covers up me and Brown's laziness.
It works out because I was lazy for 6 weeks. So I'll carry the load for a little while. Joe, what album are we doing next week?
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Paul.
Son of a bitch.
No. We are going to visit an artist
who
cut his teeth in the early days of grunge in Seattle. Stalwart of the Seattle scene. He died recently, and I gave me the idea because I haven't really listened to a whole lot of his stuff in a long time. We're going to listen to the first solo album, I think it's his first one, by Mark Lanigan.
Ooh,
from the Screaming Trees.
Yes.
We're going to be doing The Winding Sheet.
Okay, perfect. I'm not familiar with his solo stuff either, so I'm excited for this. Yeah, it sucks he died. I saw that.
Yeah. This is it's an interesting album. There's a cover on this that you will immediately find familiar and how it's arranged, and then when you find out who's on it, it'll make a whole lot more sense.
Okay, so what's this one called? The Winding Sheet?
Yep, The Winding Sheet.
Oh, it's on Sub Pop labels. I like Sub Pop label. So which cover? Oh, okay. Okay, I think I know which cover it is.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we'll talk about that next week.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking really, really, really forward to that. So awesome. And I'm a little interested in, I hope you'll give us some backstory on Mark a little bit, because I am interested on learning more about him.
Yeah, I got some. I know a little bit. I know that, I liked his work as Screaming Trees, but after he died, and I was reading his obits and man, that guy, he wrote memoirs and fucking did weird collaborations and just right?
A
weird enigma in music where he just popped up wherever in the weirdest situations with people. It was just so yeah, I just kind of wanted to revisit, because I'm not a huge fan, I would say, but I'm interested in kind of going down more. And this is the album I remember listening to, and I really, really enjoyed when I listened to it back in the day. So yeah. I mean, yeah, he does a duet with a band called Mad Season, which was Lane Staley from Alice in Chains side band.
Oh, cool!
And it's really good. So yeah, he's an interesting guy. So we'll be visiting him next week.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember reading that his obit. I was I had no idea this guy did all this shit. And I meant to go back and look through it, but I just didn't have the time. So I'm glad that you did. So that's fantastic, because I'm glad you picked this one. So, all right, Joe. Well, do you want to take us out?
No.